trend of building technology, like building innovation. And there is a lot of creativity and diversity out there. It's just not being reflected or even shown. So we want to talk about it. We want to, we're being about it, but not just talking about
I see. Okay.
it. I can't see you guys. Can you guys hear me?
Uh, Barely.
Okay.
It's gonna
Barely.
load.
Yeah, it's got to be the. Unfortunately, I'm missing a mic because I got my technology crushed this weekend, but I'm using something different this time. And I'm in a gym,
Nice.
so it's a little bit different also.
I see. Yeah,
Can you see
you.
a
Yeah.
picture? It's very muffled. Okay. Can you guys see a picture or no?
Yeah, I can. We can still see you, man, but we just can't hear you like very well. So
Interesting.
Maybe
Wait
taking
1
off
second.
the headphones. Maybe the headphones will. Maybe if it's just the headphone thing.
Is this any better?
Yeah,
yeah,
much better.
yeah,
You said it is better.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
better.
You can do the Kevin thing, and it's totally cool. You know what I'm talking about, Kevin, where it's like all up in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen Kevin in a while. So what are your thoughts, Selassie, on diversity as a trending topic?
Diversity as a trending topic.
You're like, it's 7 in the morning.
It's
I'm not.
I'm not trying to be this intellectual in the morning. But diversity. I guess it's a good topic to be on, but not very many people actually like talking about it because it's usually always getting to that one bad point where it starts separating into like racial or religion or something like that within those areas, and it's just not.
It's not a politically correct topic.
Yeah,
to talk about.
yeah, not a very PC topic to be on. And if it's talking about trying to meld those and tie those in, I mean, how everything works together and it comes together in diversity, it seems like a good idea in talk, but in practice, it's harder. So most people will try to avoid that, honestly.
Because I'm watching you watch your words. I don't hear you, Monty, at all. Like zero sound. But I'm watching you watch your words carefully, like as you speak on it. It feels like that scratching on the board, you know. And
Yeah,
just like,
it is because it's so painful. Because it's like this so. It's so bad that I don't want to like say the wrong things and come off like a dude, like I'm like some kind of bad guy, and I'm just like, it's not like I hate those guys, but it's just that for that subject I don't mind it. I don't really like talking about it at all, unless I have to.
So this was my sort of the precursor to the starting of the Blab. Was I'm clearly not someone who just is not. You know, there will be moments when I do get severely or abruptly passionate about something, and it's a scary subject to go on because, like you said, it can easily turn sour. It can easily turn the wrong way, and but it's a topic that we should not be afraid to talk about. And yet, even now in this day and age, we are scared to talk about being different and to talk about it as a whole in this big industry, as global as we are and as open as we are. We're still afraid to talk about it.
True. Well, here's my thing about it. It's like being different is a good thing as an individual. Now, being different as in general in the gen pop is not. You want to be the same as everyone else, even if it is in a different genre. So you really try to pick up on some type of trait to actually see to fit that mold in any way, any form that you can, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I totally do. I think it's just different enough to make you unique, but not quite different enough to make you separate from everyone else.
Yeah. So
Gary,
I mean,
what does that mean as a whole, as it not just a community but as a society? What does that mean for us? Does it mean that we're just open enough to be accepting, but not necessarily open enough to explore our differences?
we're not as a society, we're not up for exploring other people like that. So like if you're like that, you're like that. We're not gonna mind it. If you are black, gay, whatever, we're not gonna go too much into that. We're just gonna accept you as you are. But if you like what we like and you do what we do, yeah, we're all about it. About it. It's no more than the surface level of being a human. Anything deeper than that is dull, boring, or just totally wrong in some type of sense. If you get what I mean.
Interesting. You said deeper than human, anything deeper than actually being human. So
Yeah.
anytime we go beyond that divide, which says, characteristically, this is what makes us different.
Yeah.
And yet, and yet, there is sort of a dominant crowd or a dominant force. And if you speak up against that, it becomes you're wrong.
Yeah. It's the definite norm. It's the definite norm. It's something that we've all seen and experienced, but we just don't actually sit back and actually think about the way we can explain it or what the experience is as like between the individual, like the individual person and the whole person. So,
I mean, I think the way I explain it is being from a small island where we are largely Western. We've lost basically our language, like our history. We're trying to do whatever it takes right now to hold on to it. But in the meantime, you can tell by the way I speak that I'm very clearly come from a Western society. Like, that's how I speak. And it's not my heritage. It's not my background. And yet, because we operate on a global society, we operate in Western culture, there is a little part of us, I'm talking about my culture specifically, that says if you don't speak perfect English, it makes you a second-class citizen. And if you don't sort of fit into the mold, the standard mold of what it means to be American and what it means to be Westernized, then you lose the same opportunity. And at the same time, being, having this pigment in skin, also, even in our islands, even in, Asia Pacific, West Pacific, South Pacific, having a lighter color skin gives me more opportunity. But still, to the rest of the world, it's just still the same thing,
Yeah. True. You're right. I mean, there's not much I can say on that. It's just.
But
it's
also
his.
it's like, I'm sorry, it's just, here's a thought. It's diversity, but the major thought is that, a lot of the times us being from where we're from, being different, makes us feel like we don't have the same opportunity as everyone else. Right. And I think that's a topic that should be addressed. Like, we should all believe, at the core that we have the same opportunity as everyone else, regardless of how diverse we are. Look at you. Good morning.
Good morning, sunshines. Yes. Good morning.
So what are your thoughts on diversity? Speak freely, please, since we're recording.
My thoughts on diversity are a little mixed, just like me. My thoughts on diversity is that, yes, it's necessary. And that, unfortunately, no matter what you are made up of, you are going to be judged by what it is that people see first and foremost. However, I do believe that there's a point where diversity is no longer your excuse or reason to not do well, because we all have the same options. And if you have to work that much harder to be that much better, to make them make that much notice. Being half Black, people don't look at me and go, oh, she's half Black. They go, oh, especially since I speak Spanish, I speak Italian, I speak other languages. They go, oh, where are you, Italian? Are you Spanish? Are you island? What are you? And then when they find out I'm Black, they go, oh. It's always that pause, that, oh, okay, and even oddly enough too, even from my own cultures. So, it doesn't, so I get to walk that very fine line because I'm so fair skinned. I get to know what's being said behind the white door, and I know it's being said behind the Black door because I'm equally accepted. And also as well, not that it's so much so because I speak Spanish as well, getting to be behind the Spanish door as well, and hearing it. So as far as in the workplace, should it be a trending topic? No. I think that we as a whole, as America as a whole, hold on to race because it's such a sore spot. However, those of us who had to work to get the right to have diversity in the first place have forgotten what it took to get there, and we don't do what I know my grandparents marched with Martin for to get those rights to do. And if you think that they did those rights and took the beatings and Selma happened, all those things, all of this happened so that you could walk around in saggy pants and loud music, that's not the truth. And the fact that you've forgotten what the reason why you didn't have those rights in the first place, and that you take for granted what you have now and don't use or apply yourself for it, that's a whole nother show I can ramble on for about an hour. But the fact of it is that we don't take opportunity that is given to us. The things that we take for granted now, having internet, having, running water, having, basic necessities that we take for granted, that I know, like my grandmother grew up with an outhouse, if even that, is, like you said, you're not that old, you're not that far removed. The things that we take for granted and just think that we're entitled to because you were lucky enough to be born in the right country. No, sweetheart, you still have to work. You still have to work. And I, for the first time in really experiencing an issue with diversity in the workplace, just being a woman in tech, that's not really accepted. And I'm sitting here like, I'm like finding myself wanting to use hashtags of women in tech and hashtag Black in tech, women in tech, this is this. But the fact is,
Instagram,
hashtag. And I can hashtag it all I want, but it's not going to change anything. So all I have to do is be that much better that they can't deny it. And that's what I'm working on right now. How do I make myself that much better? How do I make my products that much better that they can't deny it? Everyone was cool when I was owner of the bakery of the Super Bowl, and everyone was cool then. And then they're like, well, wait a minute. Who is this person trying to come up in a tech space? Wasn't she just making cakes a few months ago? Yeah, I do that too, boo-boo, but I can also do this. And that it's funny how it's accepted, and you're like, okay, well, yeah, she's a woman. She can be a chef. She can be a baker. She can be these things. And that's perfectly acceptable. Nobody questioned me until, this past Friday. People are like, well, what makes you think you can do this? Because I have a business mind in this. Yes, I'm stepping out into this realm that they're like, well, you're not even a major streamer. You're right, I'm not, because someone has to be the observer. Someone has to be the visionary to observe everything and then take what I'm observing and take it somewhere else and then have it be directed out with that map reader. So how do we get here? How do we get to the point where startup Blab diversity is not a trending topic? Diversity is not a trending topic. Yeah. Should it be the trending topic, though, is the question.
It really shouldn't be, but it is because we have it. Because we have different color skin, our nationalities, our skill sets, our sex, our sexuality. It's put out there so much in the public that we can't really deny it.
Right.
And I mean, we deal with it, but not in such a way where it's acceptable or we can, I want to say it flows smoothly in a way, if you get what I mean. Like, let's say if you're black and gay and you want to be in this field, you're not really going to be accepted because you're one of these two things. Or if you're this and that way, just you're being accepted, but they're going to step lightly around you because of other issues. And other people are taking advantage of it as well. Like in those situations, it just doesn't help either. Like getting sued for saying something that wasn't supposed to be racial or discriminatory, so in that way.
Let's put a disclaimer. The views of the show are not associated with any of our companies. They are personally our own. Hence, we're stopping. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hashtag disclaimer.
Forgetting about that. No.
It says, Patrick says, Ola first said the only way to not have diversity as a true is to have diversity across the board. And very good point. Because if it was just diverse for the sake of being diverse, because that's the representation of the global population, then we wouldn't need to talk about it because it was clearly represented. Right? And then Patrick says, most corporations have diversity programs and insisted vendors have diversity regimes too. It's a real hot topic in recruitment the past few months. I work in that tech space and it's being tackled top down at least. Interesting.
Here's the thing with diversity programs.
Yeah,
Go ahead, my dear. It's your show. Go ahead before I go like a rabid dog on it.
Okay. Here's the thing. About it. I hate it because it's like it's still trying to say we're not racist, but
recognize there's a race barrier.
Yeah, there's
what it says though is we still don't like you. You're still not good at that, but we have to hire you.
There you go.
And the fact of it is that they talk about these programs are being put in place. And, because of the government, we all have to have diversity programs when you have a company. But how much of those diversity programs are actually working? How much of those diversity programs are actually being enforced? When you set an expectation and then you put it out there of, okay, well, it's what's the other word for it called? I used to work in it too in HR. Not diverse. It's not a diversity program. What was the old affirmative action? So, affirmative action has just been rebranded as a diversity program, and it's the same thing repackaged. And so when you sit there and you say, our vendors have diversity. I'll give you a prime example, Super Bowl. Super Bowl gives preference to women-owned minority businesses. I know this because I'm a Super Bowl vendor. But they also though have their own agenda that they try to push. So they try to push, like last year when it was in Arizona, Arizona is a minority majority state, 51% Hispanic. So they gave us a whole day, 8-hour meeting on how to gain the Hispanic dollar. That we were forced to go to. We were forced to join, this, and this. I mean, down to how we literally had to sit in a class explain to us the difference of musics and this, and this, and how to obtain and retain the Hispanic dollar, and the difference between reggaeton and cumbia. And this is, I'm like, this is not my target audience. Like, I make Southern desserts. If they want to come, which I have because Arizona's a minority majority state, I have Hispanic customers, but they come to me because they know I make a bomb tres leches. Let's just be honest. Like, I don't need to cater to them. I don't need to talk to them in Spanish. I would be insulted if I go into a freaking Texas barbecue place as a Hispanic person. They're like, well, yeehaw and hola. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's a Hispanic person coming. It's so ridiculous to me. It is trying to make people happy, make people feel, welcome and this and this. No, you're in America. This is what we do. And, just as those cultures are assimilating, just because you can check a box and say, you know, you're of Hispanic or Latin descent, you're still American. And if you choose to be here, then you're choosing to be American and assimilate to what America is. That's that melting pot. And we all get away from that. Everyone wants to assimilate to what they think, what we have and what we're doing. I mean, Black people can't even agree on how to be Black. You know what I'm saying? You know, Hispanics can't even agree on how to be Hispanic. And it goes through because, yes, we all have a different journey and a different path. And, you know, definitely like there's definitely different classes. And I think sometimes class gets confused with race and gets confused with diversity. And that is a lot of the problem because the stereotypes come in. And unfortunately, the thing about stereotypes is there's truth in stereotypes. They all come from somewhere. There's a truth that people always say when I hate when I say that, but there's truth in that. They come from somewhere. Somebody somewhere saw somebody doing something and went, oh, they all do that. Black, white, Hispanic, Italian, whatever you want to call it. Somebody came up with this stereotype and then the stereotype stuck, but there's some truth in it somewhere. So then you have to figure out how are you going to differentiate yourself from the stereotypes in the workplace. You know, if you come in to work every day eating watermelon and fried chicken with, you know, and this is what you're dealing with, you know, you're perpetuating a stereotype. And that is what a lot of people do in the workplace without even realizing it. And it's almost like you're going in angry. Like, I used to work in HR. Hey, my British boo. And I used to work in HR, and I would see things a lot. And we'd have managers come in. Well, they're just so angry. They just seem like they don't want to be here. And I'm going, really? And then I'd always have to sit and watch the person's behavior before we call them into the office, and you know, and make those little stuff. Hey, how's it going? How's it going? And then they do. You know, there's people who carry that disgruntled thing, and sometimes things are cultural. One of my favorite Indian restaurants, I have to mentally prepare because I already know their service in Indian culture is not smiley and happy. It's like, here's your naan, eat it. Like, here's your lassi, you know. I mean, it is what it is. You know, I don't go there for the service. I go there for the food, you know. And so knowing that and having been cultured enough, and that's the thing too, people have to culture themselves to other cultures. You have to be willing to learn about other cultures so that you can have diversity, period, without it even being an issue. I think I'm so happy and lucky that I grew up in Southern California, you know, because it is a true melting pot. That's why I speak Spanish. That's why I can cook any kind of a Hispanic food there is. You know, Chinese food is bomb in Chinatown. You know, I mean, there's like all the different cultures come together. I have friends from every different nationality and every different race. And I got exposed to so many cultures that diversity is really not even a word in my vocabulary because I don't look at people based off of what they are. I look at people off of who they are. And that's where we need to get to with a lot of different people. I'll be quiet now.
No, you have to be quiet. Hi, Ola. What do you think about this topic?
Well, I can only kind of comment on from, like, I guess my point of view, but lots of people in the comments were saying about, you know, diversity doesn't necessarily always jump straight to race. You know, like if you take, for instance, a group of Black male photographers, and somebody was going to come in and talk about diversity, you know, they may be talking about including women. They may be talking about including other races. They may be talking about including you know, traditions from other ethnic groups, you know, for instance, you know, how to work a Muslim wedding as a photographer, you know, that would be a topic in a diversity workshop, or, you know, somebody's coming to talk about diversity to that group of people. So I think it depends on the group of people that you're trying to, open up to diversity to. I definitely think, bye Monty. I definitely think, yeah, it depends on the group that you're actually talking to. You know, obviously, as far as like the Oscars goes, you're talking to mainly white, old men in that industry, in Hollywood. But you know, look at the actual reaction. You know, because of because the SAG Awards then had diversity, they're saying, oh, the reason why the SAG Awards had diversity is because everybody was so irate about the Oscars. How do you know? How do you know they weren't just saying that was already planned? How do you know, like, when the awards were decided? You know, just because one group of people don't do something and then the next group of people do it, it doesn't mean they're doing it because they're scared of, oh, we don't want the same reaction as they got from the Oscars, you know? Exactly. So, yeah, I think, like I said, diversity will always be there until there is diversity, you know? So diversity probably will still be like a trending issue, unfortunately, whether it's for race or disability or sexuality.
And I think someone said it immediately goes to race, but I think just depending on the person, you give credence more to certain things because of your experience. So it could be that you're a woman in tech and you feel discriminated against, or you feel just like there's this unequal scale.
Exactly.
And it could be something totally different. It could be race, it could be disability, it could be, it could be anything. But
as long as people are different, we're going to have diversity.
Yeah.
And until we all wake up one day looking like Stepford Wives and exactly the same thing and the exact same thing, this is going to be a topic. And so the answer to the question is it going to go away? No. Should it be a topic in 2016? No. Is it one? Yes. So how do we better that?
But really, the topic is not diversity. The topic is lack of diversity. You know, because like I think at the moment, everyone's saying diversity, and I think those people that don't have diversity in their organisations are kind of going, "Oh God, diversity! Oh my God, you know, they're going to force us to talk to black people or females or whatever it is." Whereas, like, really, it's what it should be is hashtag lack of diversity, not just diversity. Because I'm sure there's a lot of companies, there's a lot of organisations that have very, very good diversity. You know, you walk in there and you're like, yep, you know, they have a couple of guys in a wheelchair, a couple of guys with no arms, they have some females back there, they've got some black, Hispanic, you know, whatever, they're absolutely diverse. And then it depends on where you are in the world as well. You know, you can't expect to walk into a Chinese factory and expect there to be, you know, black women, you know, a black woman ratio, you know, it's like, you know.
I think this is an important topic, and I think all of us have a very similar background. We're all obviously women, and Selassie and Monty are men, obviously, but we have a similar background. We all have experienced the lack of diversity in some respect, and I think we should be
really.
Is it my audio?
I think so.
I think we should be less afraid to talk about diversity. I don't know. That's just my thought, but let's keep it in mind so that it's not a subject that people are afraid to talk about. It's not a disparity that people are afraid to say, hey, this doesn't really look right, you know. And if it doesn't look right, it probably isn't.
Exactly. But yeah, you know, don't be afraid if you haven't got diversity and it's for a specific reason. You know, like I said, like, you know, if you're in China or you're in Japan, like, you don't have to like just like, you know, do a recruitment campaign just for black people because, you know, because you feel like you have to, you know.
It just looks like it's just trying a little bit too hard and being sort of unreasonable. Like, just
exactly
the guy in the middle of the factory or the black woman in the middle of the factory, and then everyone's Japanese and Chinese, like,
yeah, exactly,
for that purpose.
Because then you get into tokenism.
Yeah,
as I like to call it. It's tokenism, you know. Like I said, that goes back to the affirmative action, filling the quota, that getting the tokens.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why a lot of people like absolutely disagree with this whole quota thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, for a lot of people, you know, female, black, you know, all I need to do is be disabled, and if there's some sort of quota, I'll be laughing. But the point is, like, do you want to get a job or get a contract based on the fact that they have to hire you, or do you want to get it, you know, under your own merits and because they actually think that you are, if not better, just as good as the employees they've already got there?
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's. I think at this point, the word diversity is being interchanged with discrimination.
Yeah.
And that's where everyone's tap dancing around, calling out discrimination, and they're saying there's a lack of diversity. There's a lack of diversity, and they're really just saying you're discriminating. And because that argument is so old and tired, we're just changing the wording to it, and again, repackaging, rebranding, from affirmative action to discrimination to to diversity now. And with the diversity now, you're saying these are what we're doing. We should, because we've passed it. As a culture, we like to think we're very evolved, and so we're saying, okay, well, we're no longer racist, we're no longer these things, but we know it still exists, so we're just gonna wink and smile and nod at it and act like they don't happen. And what's happening is, when you have something, I think it's interesting that something so trivial such as the Oscars brought up such this huge topic, because there's so much bigger things in life that we need to be talking about than freaking gold statues. But the fact that it became such a huge topic based off of the one thing that most cultures know is entertainment. So if you're gonna use that as your model, where was the diversity in these awards, in this situation? Hollywood has always been ran by old Jewish men. Always. From the get-go. Shh, nobody's supposed to know that. Shh. And then, if it wasn't old Jewish men, it was gay white men. So where does that fit in? I mean, from your Rock Hudsons to your, I can start listing a bunch of names, but I'm not really getting to get all that. But let's look at these studio execs and let's look at what's being chosen. And they're right. When the Academy is chosen, they send out to XYZ people, and half people in the Academy aren't even in the entertainment industry necessarily. They know somebody who recommended them to have a vote, which means that they're friends of friends of friends, and so on and so on. And so you get to this whole thing, and like when we bring it into the music industry, into the business industry, when you bring it into all these different industries, we have to say, oh, bye, boo. Why are you leaving me, Ola? Why are you leaving me now? But we have to say, okay, so this situation is occurring, but we don't want to acknowledge it. And I think that because it became such a big elephant in the room for everybody, people felt like they were speaking out on it. And I remember when it happened, I was sitting there looking, and I'm like, what does it matter? That was my first instinct was like, well, what does it matter? And then I started watching all the clapbacks and all the stuff people were saying back and forth. And then I went and I looked, and I was like, yeah, you're right. Pretty much every 13 years or so, someone of a color wins an Oscar. You choose to play that game. That's where people don't have, this is why diversity is such a touchy subject with me. It goes back to personal greatness, personal reward, personal, believing in all kinds of stuff, and personal ownership. Because at this point, if you know that you're going to be looked at as less than, if you know that you're going to be looked at as the less than and not good enough and all these other types of things, and then you still want to go and take that job. You knew the job was dangerous when you took it. So why are you complaining? What is the problem here? And that comes into every workplace. That's why I'm not gonna sit here and complain about the fact people are wondering why I'm a woman in tech. I knew the job was dangerous when I took it. I knew that. I knew going in, people were gonna be like, oh, she don't know what she's talking about. I knew there's gonna be people looking down. I knew people were gonna be checking me out, wanting to vet me and everything else. I knew that was gonna happen, but it doesn't stop what I'm doing. So I have to go forth because I'm choosing out of my personal power, out of my personal strength. I know the vision I have. I know what I want to accomplish, so I have to push through. Do I do it for somebody else? Absolutely not, because I'm not going to push someone else's vision. So when it comes into the discrimination or lack of diversity that's happening in women in tech when you're working for another company, yeah, there's a huge amount we can discuss there. Difference in pay, difference in promotion, different in position, so on and so on and so on. But when it comes to that even, I could have taken the moment to say, okay, well, I could work for somebody else first and gain some knowledge, and maybe people take me seriously. Or I could just step out on what I heard and step out on faith and go, this is what I'm doing, throw my hat in the ring and just go for it. And know that all of the trouble that's going to come, she doesn't know enough. She didn't go to school for this. She didn't this. But I am enough, and I don't need you to validate me. And that's the problem, is that as a society, we constantly need other people to validate us. That's why people care about likes and hearts and all that kind of stuff. People need that validation. Follow me, follow me, follow me. I don't want to follow you. And I don't care if you follow me.
Yeah. Validation, that's exactly what it is. And I think you're right. It's personal power. I know as a woman in business, as a woman in tech, as a woman in general, as, just being who I am, right? I know at the onset that I am going to be at an immediate disadvantage. I don't care about that stuff. I don't care. Because the people who start making that their core center of their power, that you have to be accepted in order to do something great. The reality is most people who are doing great things are not accepted. They don't have this huge following. Most people who do, acceptable things are doing standard, sort of mediocre type things. Mm-hmm. And if you can accept the fact that you are standoutish and you don't resonate with the mass majority and you're doing something very different and you don't really need that validation, I don't care. Follow me, don't follow me. Be my friend, don't be my friend. Hurt me, prop me, right? I don't care. It doesn't matter because you're still, at the end of the day, whether you're male, female, black, white, whatever it is I am, right? And all that stuff, right? Regardless of what it is, you're still going to do what you were setting out to do. If you're not worried about people validating who you are as a person, regardless of diversity standards.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. I mean, really, that's kind of like where do you stop it at? Because that's really what it comes down to, especially when you're dealing with entertainment fields and business and all kind of stuff. Like I said, it comes down to that personal validation. Do you need someone else's validation? Do you need someone else to tell you that you're enough? Do you need someone else to tell you that you're good at that? The sun stands alone.
Here's the challenge with diversity, which is, I think, a subject that we need to talk about for the people who are our youth, our children. The people who are growing up right now, the challenge is when you feel like you are at an imbalance, as a youth, your initial thought has to be changed. Your training has to be changed, because once you come up with that mindset that says, I am constantly discriminated against, you forget that you have that power to do what it is you were supposed to do regardless of your race. You feel like you're not good enough, or regardless of your sex, your race, your ability or disability, you know what I'm saying? Like, you feel like deep down inside that if you don't fit in, you are not good enough. And that's the mindset that we have to retrain and we have to start talking about. Because like it or not, they're still experiencing that in the world. We can talk all we want about, embrace your power, you're beautiful, because you're strong, because you have a gift. But the reality is most of the children's environment is not that. Like, my children, they don't experience that on a daily basis. I mean, I have to sit down and explain to them what they're going through and why they're experiencing that, and then reinforce constantly. And they're 5, 7, and 10, constantly reinforce them, even at that young age, that just because they're different doesn't make them less important, doesn't make them less happy. And if they're experiencing that here, can you imagine? Hi, Siri. I said something like, hey, Siri. No, Siri. Not you. Okay, I think I love having you here, Yvette. I think we're going to end this topic for tonight, but want to talk about diversity for the next 29 days. And I hope you join us,
I'll try.
Perhaps.
Perhaps, my dear, perhaps. Bye-bye, y'all. Have a good day.
Yeah.